We are Geeks Not Nerds. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
With gusto. Today, Vince,
And sushi.
our question comes from Ignamini, who says, when a comic like Spawn calls for it, are the studios smarter to make it an R film or PG it down? Is there room in the comic to movieverse for more rated R comic adaptations? I'm wanting Lobo, but one true to form in a proper Spawn reboot would restore the innards of any true fan who lost their guts in 1997 watching that version. Thanks for the question. Let's go ahead and answer it. Let's put 10 minutes on the clock.
Put 10 minutes on your clock.
You're in a mood today, Vince. I would start off by saying that I think that this was more of an issue in the 90s than it is now, as we've had some comic adaptations that were R, and lo and behold, most of those closer to their original source material.
Yeah, I mean, you have 300. You have The Watchmen.
You have Sin City.
Sin City. I think. Oh no, The Losers, was that a rated R movie?
Probably.
It seems like something that would be. I mean, I think especially with Lobo, I think you'd almost be safe for it to be a rated R movie, because
I don't think you could make a good movie out of that well. Punisher always are.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that I think nowadays we have room for rated R movies.
And Punisher has been R since 2004. I mean, that's a few years back.
I think now you'll be more hard-pressed to convince people that Lobo will be a big-selling movie as to whether or not it would actually be done.
Yeah, I don't think Lobo would be the same problem with Spawn. You know, Spawn in 97, it was all, this comic is really, really popular now, and we know that it's popular with people who are younger than a rated R audience. That was the problem with that, is that they were trying to make something that they could sell to a broad mass audience, and the weird kind of awkward thing with Spawn was people were reading that book that were too young for that book. And it was really popular among some of those people, or at least, you know, some people would have thought that, whatever your beliefs are on how young you should be before you read something like that, you know, whatever. But you see what I'm saying? I mean, I think Spawn was somewhat of a rare case. I still think that part of the problem with that movie and why it was too Hollywood was that it was PG-13. That they were trying to make it kind of your standard formulaic, you know, PG-13 comic book movie so that they could sell it to kids.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing, is that, so now that we've answered that part of the question, the big deal here is, does making something PG-13 or PG sort of ruin it? And I think to some extent it does. I think for Spawn's a good example of how it changes what it should be. I mean, the thing about it is that there are some properties that would be better served in an R movie. Now, that being said, I think that there is... In that same vein, you can go too far, and you can't. And there are times that you don't go far enough.
Absolutely.
You can make an R movie that's like a stretched R. You know, like, oh, this really could have been PG, but they had to throw in a couple F words, so now it's R.
We've talked about that a lot with the PG-13 DC animated movies, where they throw in a couple of curse words in certain ones, and that gives them that PG-13 rating they want because they want to sell it to adults. And then you and I watch it and go, well, this sucks. I could have shown that to a kid had it not been for five seconds total in the whole movie.
Yeah, you know,
that sort of thing.
I think essentially the bottom line is, if you're shooting for a particular rating, you're going to end up with a movie that's obviously shooting for a particular rating. It's going to hurt your movie.
You're saying it's a lot smarter to make the movie you want to make and then rate it later.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that the part of the ratings code is so... It's this horrible force that just comes down on you, and you can make a good non-pornographic X-rated film, or now it would be NC-17, and theaters won't carry it because it says NC-17. They're like, oh, that's porn. No, that's not porn. That's different.
You've seen the same documentary I've seen.
I'm just taking classes on it.
Oh, really? Okay, all right. There was a documentary on that a couple of years ago, and it was making that very point.
I may have seen excerpts from it, though. But, see, that's the thing. Is
it's on Netflix.
Sometimes you can make a movie where they're saying, well, where their tender sensibilities are offended, and therefore they have to bring you back and say, well, we need you to change things to make it an R. Oh, no. So it's, you know, sometimes the ratings code can ruin things for your movie. But in my opinion, make a movie and then see what happens. Generally, if you don't want to have any problem with the production code, and it being PG-13 or R is not a problem, as long as you don't have anything that's overtly sexual in there, you can put as much violence in as you like.
I'm going to run back to Spawn for just a minute. In '97, yeah, let's run back. What is this, Pop Culture Yearbook? In 1997, today on Pop Culture Yearbook, we'll be talking about 1997. I've chosen Spawn.
I've chosen Deadpool.
What did you do, Manos? In 1997, when Spawn came out, I think that and I said this when I did the rewind on it a long time ago. Having said all that we just said, a lot of the problems with that would have been issues regardless of what the rating was. I mean, there was a rated R director's cut of that movie, and that's what's mostly available now. And what was put back in it didn't save the story glitches. And so here is an example of a property that where if they'd shot the original source material, it would have been an R rating, but they changed it, and it was still a good movie. That's The Mask. The Mask is a horror comic that they turn into a. I mean, it's still got its creepy places, but I mean, like they turned it into a PG-13 movie that kids could see for the most part, and it's good. So it can happen. I mean, like I don't want to. I'm just saying there are definitely two sides to this, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, with The Mask, you sort of have it's a mask, and it just depends on who you put it on. So you have a problem.
But not in the comics, it doesn't, man. I mean, anybody they put it on in the comics, it turns them into a killer. That's what I'm saying. I mean, the comics, it was kind of a different thing. It was just a really brutal book. Like,
yeah, I mean, I suppose it depends on what property it is. If you can adapt it, it's different. I mean, I suppose you could make a movie where Batman kills people, and some people would question it, but some people wouldn't because he has in the past. So.
Nobody questioned, or very few people questioned it in '89 when the character wasn't as culturally defined as he is now.
Yeah. So, but if you put Superman as a killer, that would be a little strange.
Let me tell you. But at the same time, and I'm not saying that it would sell and it would be a good idea. You could make a rated R Superman movie, and you wouldn't have to change Superman to make it happen.
The world around it. I mean,
you could. There are certain. If you adapted certain storylines, you could do a really great Death of Superman movie that was rated R, for instance, and it would almost be better because it was R, because you could be a little more violent with it, and that's. You could do violence on the scale of The Passion. Not that I'm saying I like that movie, but but Passion of the Christ. But how about certain Batman storylines? Like there are things you'll never see because they'd have to be R.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, Dark Knight Returns, you can't make that.
Well, Frank Miller has a certain knack for making a dystopian society.
Yeah, no, he's not Gene Roddenberry. That's someone else.
That's an entirely different thing, and I like him.
Rated R Star Trek film. That's
it is called Star Trek. I'm sorry, I'm gonna leave.
I wasn't gonna stop you,
but. I completely forgot the point of what we were just talking about.
We were talking about taking certain Batman stories that would almost have to be R and putting them on the screen.
Well, I mean, like, look at.
I don't think you could have done a PG-13 Watchmen.
No. Well, I mean, you could have, but you would have left a lot of the violence out, and a lot of the violence was the point of it. I mean, if you were to make
said that violence was the problem, but we won't get into it.
No, I said the display of the violence was the problem.
Okay, all right.
How they did it, not what they did. But if you take out a lot of the violence, well, actually, a good example of part of Watchmen was when he starts hacking away at the guy. That wasn't necessary.
That wasn't in the book.
That wasn't in the book, and it wasn't necessarily necessary to the film.
No, it wasn't.
You could have done something. You could have what they actually did in the book,
which I like a little bit better. Yeah, I'm with you.
But provided you were to take out all the violence.
For the record, I just conceded a point on the great Watchmen debate that's been going on. I just wanted to anyway. Right?
But I think that if you were to take out some of the things that made it R, you would have. Well, that's the point of the Watchmen. It's trying to put superheroes in context of a potentially real reality, as opposed to just a continuity that's been going on for years. So. If you remove all the violence and you remove all the sex, you take out some of the things that make these people damaged, and you take out some of the things that make these people real. and then you're left with a superhero movie. So what do you do then?
Absolutely, yeah, and it's not a superhero movie. I mean, it's a movie about superheroes, but you know, it's not the formulaic superhero movie. Since we have 30 seconds, let's throw out some properties that we'd like to see rated R movies out of. Swamp Thing.
I'd like to see what Swamp Thing rated R movie. I'd like to see a Daredevil rated R movie.
Yeah, yeah.
I could deal with that.
I'm trying to think of other things that would have to be.
Howard the Duck.
Yeah,
I'd like to see a rated R Howard the Duck movie.
That's fair, and I think it would have to be animated.
Yeah, that'd be fair.
I'd say make your Howard the Duck movie animated. Make it rated R animated. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
more good adult animated stuff, man. Yeah, I don't know. I'm having a tough time thinking. Are you really? That's how you're gonna do it?
Yeah, I was gonna look at my collection real quick and be like, is there anything rated R that I want to see?
Honestly, I just said that because I wanted to say Swamp Thing, but you know.
Yeah, I'd like to see a rated R Swamp Thing. Yeah, it's hard though. It's coming up with superhero type properties. I'd like to see a Preacher film, or I'd take that back. I wouldn't necessarily like to, but if they did it, I'd want it to be R. It would have to be.
Oh yeah, stuff that you'd like to see that would have to be R. Why the Last Man?
Yeah,
would be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, hey, what do you think about rated R movies, and if particular things need to be rated R, or if you think that you can really make anything PG-13 and still make a decent movie out of it? I don't want to say that it can't be. I don't want to say that a good PG-13 Spawn movie can't be done. I want to say it would be a lot harder, and it wouldn't necessarily be what the diehard fans would want to see. That's the crux of it for me with stuff like that. Anyway, what do you think? Leave it in the comments. Let us know. Also, if there's something you'd like us to talk about in a future video, leave that in the comments as well. And thanks a lot for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince, reminding you to support your local comic book store.